Hey everybody, this video is going to go over all the important information contained in the course syllabus. So if you look below this video, you can see the syllabus copied and pasted there. So if you want to follow along, you can scroll down and the video will keep playing, should anyway. So I'm not going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, but I do want to hit some of the highlights of the syllabus. First thing is the top of the syllabus. You will see my contact information, my cell phone number, and my email address. Under that, you're going to see the information for the textbook for the class. It looks like this. All right, so it's called English Skills with Reading. It's the 9th edition. We will be, everything that we're going over throughout the term comes from the book. So it will be helpful if you have a copy of it. Course description for this class, it is English 1. We're going to be working on developing composition skills. So it is a writing course. Not everything you're going to write in the course is formally graded, but there is a lot of writing involved. But the whole idea is to get better at those skills, right? And we're going to learn the basis of the writing process and how to develop a really strong paragraph, and then working with some like grammar and mechanical lessons. And then we're eventually going to look at how to take a paragraph and then write a full-on essay, right? So we're going to work through all of that throughout the term, and I promise, as long as you're, going through the material each week and attempting the homework assignments and paying attention to my feedback, then you're going to leave this course a stronger writer than when you began, right? Nobody ever mastered it. So the objectives for the course are to make sure that you can recognize and correct your own grammar and mechanical errors, that you can write more fluently, authentically, and academically, with a specific audience in mind, that we can go through all the stages of the writing process, from pre-writing to drafting to revision, all the way through it, and that you have a knowledge of need-to-know concepts for writing in the workplace. So that is a brief overview of what we're going to cover throughout the term. In terms of outside classwork, keep in mind that this is a 40 contact hour class. So spread out over 10 weeks, that's 4 hours per week that you should expect to do in classwork. If this were a class on campus, that's the 4 hours you would be in the classroom each week. And then you can expect 2 to 3 additional hours of outside work each week. This is an online class, so sometimes the material that's in the module will be 4 hours and the homework will be 2 hours. Sometimes the material might only take you 2 hours to go through, but the homework's going to take you like 4 or 5 hours to go through. So it's just an average per week. Since this is online, you should expect 6 to 7 hours of work each week. That includes watching the videos and going through PowerPoints, as well as the actual graded work that you'll submit. Okay. The grading scales, typical grading scale, 90 to 100 is A, 80 to 89 is B, 70 to 79 is C, 60 to 69 is D, and anything below a 60 is a failing grade. So you only need a 60% or higher to pass the course. In terms of how the grades are categorized or how they're broken down, we have our discussions category, which makes up 15% of your overall grade. All of the exercises and homework assignments, those make up 25% of your overall grade. There will be a midterm exam, which will be worth 20% of your overall grade. Then we have our writing assignments, which are 4 paragraphs. So a little later in the term, you're going to be turning in 4 separate paragraphs, formal paragraphs, formally graded paragraphs. They are each worth 5% of the 20% that the writing assignments are worth total. And then you have a final exam, which for this class is actually a final exam essay. So you're going to, we're going to work on building strong paragraphs, and then we're going to work up to creating an essay, and that will be worth 20% of your overall grade. So those are how the grades are broken down. All of it will make more sense as we start going through the material and doing the assignments. Let's see, what else do we want to look at here? To keep going, we've got the course outline. You can, by all means, take a look at that course outline. It matches up exactly with the material in each weekly module. But if you're ever looking to see, you know, like, oh, how many assignments am I going to have due 2 weeks from now? Maybe I have something going on. Or I would like to go out of town for a few days. You know, what's going on that week. You know, you can scroll through here and see when things are due and what week, like the midterm is. It's obviously week 5 and things like that. But I'm not going to go through it with you week by week. You keep scrolling past the course outline, you get into my instructor policies. The one I want to talk about first is the late work policy. So, you know, all of your work each week is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And then at 12:01, the next week starts. So, obviously, if you don't get things submitted by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night, you should still submit them, even if they're late. My late work policy is usually I'll accept anything up to 2 weeks past the due date. But honestly, as long as you're communicating with me and we're on the same page and I know what's going on and you have a game plan for, you know, like if you fall behind by a week or two, like if we have a game plan for when you're going to start submitting certain items, then I'm usually willing to work with you even if it goes past that 2-week window. The one thing you need to be aware of though is that I will not accept any late work past week 9. Unless it is a very special circumstance that you have run by me and that other people are aware of. So past week 9, no late work, because then that gives me that final week of the term to be worried about grading your final exam essays, right? Now, having said all of that, if you are ever in doubt, if you ever want to know if I will accept an assignment, just ask. You know, don't assume that I'm automatically going to say no. Still ask, right? Okay. The plagiarism policy is the next item listed under my instructor policies. This is a big one for a English class that students really need to be aware of. If you're not sure what plagiarism is, I suggest you research it a little bit. We will talk about it later in the term. But, you know, it's cheating, basically. And so how do you cheat in a composition course? You turn in work that's not your own. Whether that's a whole paragraph or a whole essay that you're trying to turn in and pretend you wrote, or maybe it's just a couple sentences that you borrowed from another source and you didn't give credit to that source. That's plagiarism. Submitting the exact same assignment that one of your classmates submits, like word for word, exact same answers or exact same paragraphs, that would be plagiarism. I always give students the benefit of the doubt, and I bring it to your attention if I happen to see something, and you know, I usually give you a chance to make it right. But you need to be aware that if you don't make it right, it will be a 0. And it will get noted in your file, and it can lead to some pretty serious consequences, right? If you have any questions about plagiarism as the term begins, please let me know. But again, we'll actually cover a little more of that in depth a little later in the term. I always tell students, you know, I'm here to help make you better. I'm here to help strengthen your writing skills. So, you know, you shouldn't expect to be perfect at it, and it's my job to help you improve, right? So you always have second chances with me. So I really try to take the pressure off, and so people won't feel like they need to submit something that's not really their own. So always come to me if you need any extra help, and let me know if you have any additional questions about the plagiarism policy. We'll look last at the methods for evaluating students. So this just goes through each grade category and kind of gives you a little more information about each one. So we have the discussion forums worth 15% of your overall grade. Remember the discussions open with the week on Monday, and they close Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. There will be a prompt, and you are supposed to respond to that prompt and post your response, and then you are supposed to respond to 2 classmates. You need to get all 3 of those things accomplished before the discussion closes at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, because once the discussion closes, I'm unable to reopen it. Right? The next category is the exercises and assignments. This is literally exactly what it sounds like. Any graded exercise, our weekly journals, our in-class exercises, the homework assignments, those are all informally graded. I grade them mostly based on effort. Now, if you happen to submit an assignment and it is clear that you didn't even look at the lesson and you just get everything wrong, I will give you a 0 on it and ask you to redo it. Again, always second chances, right? But for the most part, that's not ever a problem for students. If you are trying to do the work and doing your best, you'll get full credit for it. I will give you feedback and let you know where you might have made some mistakes and give you the corrections, but you'll still get full credit for the assignment. The next category is the midterm exam. It will be in week 5. It's going to be a combination of, I know this is weird for a composition course, but it's going to be a combination of like multiple choice matching and fill in the blank and short answer questions. It's really going to be like recognizing things in writing and pointing out errors or things like that. Just all the stuff that we will have covered up to that point. It is a mandatory item, and you must submit the midterm exam in order to pass the class, no matter what the numbers say at the end of the quarter or at the end of the term. If you haven't submitted the midterm, you will fail the course. It's worth 20% of your overall grade, so if you have a 0 on it, chances are your grade's going to be pretty low. But there is that possibility, if you've done all the other work in the class, that your grade might be low, but still a passing grade without the midterm exam being completed. It doesn't matter. You will still fail the class. You have to do the midterm. Right? The next category is the writing assignments. Those are the 4 paragraphs I mentioned. The whole category is worth 20% of your grade. Each paragraph is worth 5% of that 20. These are also mandatory items. You must submit all 4 writing assignments to pass the course. Okay. They will be formally graded, unlike the exercises and assignments. There will be a rubric that I use to grade the paragraphs. But again, always second chances, right? Then the last grade category is the final exam essay. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those paragraphs that you wrote for the writing assignments and you're going to develop it into a longer essay, not just one paragraph. It's a mandatory item as well. It is worth 20% of your overall grade, and you have to submit it in order to pass the class. It's a timed in-class essay. So obviously it will be graded formally in some respects, but you're not getting a chance to revise. But we will be doing some prep work for it leading up to the final week of the course. So it might seem a little scary, but you'll be prepared for it. And I do take into account that you're not getting feedback and you're not able to revise. So even though it's formally graded, it's still formally graded, with that in mind. So the midterm exam, the 4 writing assignments, the 4 paragraphs, and the final exam essay, those 3 categories, all the items in those categories have to be submitted in order to pass the class, no matter what the numbers say. Okay, so please make sure that you are paying attention to those items and getting them submitted so that you don't fail the class just for having a missing paragraph, right? That's pretty much the highlights of the syllabus here. If you have any questions about it, any concerns about it, please let me know. Otherwise, the next sub-tab underneath this one is the syllabus acknowledgement assignment. You'll just need to click on that and you'll just type in that acknowledge that you have gone over the syllabus and that you understand and agree to everything that's contained in it. But as always, if you have any questions, let me know.